This morning on Today's Money, taking the plunge, not into marriage, but real estate. More couples are buying property together before saying I do, but that can be more complicated than you think. And here with tips to keep in mind is today's real estate analyst, Barbara Corcoran. Barbara, good morning to you.
Good morning, Lester.
I know what you're going to say. You're going to say get everything in writing, and that's so unromantic.
It sounds unromantic
but it's so necessary,
and boring,
isn't it?
but it's so much easier to do it when you're in love. When you're not in love, it gets really sticky. So putting in writing is key, especially if you're an unmarried couple, because there's no protection for you by state and federal law. So you have to make your own protection. There's two instruments only you should hire an attorney for. One is a cohabitation agreement, which gives you all the details of who pays for what. And the other, of course, is a simple property agreement, which simply states who owns the property.
Yeah, let's quickly walk there, because you say there are three questions to ask, and one of them is that property agreement. The question of who owns the property, you're buying it together, aren't you?
You're buying it together, but the problem with just buying it together is it's too vague. You have to ask who actually owns it and what form of ownership it takes. You need to know whose name is on the deed, and both people's names should be on the deed.
And that leads to the cohabitation agreement, which says what?
The cohabitation agreement tells you who's going to pay what share of the mortgage, who brought what into the agreement. If something happens and the whole relationship explodes, do you sell the house? Do you share the profits? Do you rent the place out? What do you do? All these things have to be addressed up front, or you always have an unhappy ending.
I was reading through the notes, and I know you feel it's important also to get life insurance. Explain that.
Life insurance is inexpensive. You insure each other's life, so if anything goes wrong, you have enough money to pay off the mortgage. You don't want your lover's in-laws coming in and telling you what you should do with the house. You want to be in control by paying off that mortgage.
Now, there may be situations, Barbara, where you've got a couple, only one has really good credit, and so they buy the place, but in the name of love, they put the other person's name on the deed. Why is that a potential complication?
Well, it's a lovely story because it feels so heartwarming, but it's terrible. Because what happens is they don't also put the person's name on the mortgage. So in essence, you've given away half your property, that person's taxed on receiving half the property, and yet you're totally responsible for the mortgage. So it just needs a little bit of thought, and it needs to be in writing.
But if you were married, that's not a complication.
If you're married, it's totally different because federal and state law protects and addresses all of these issues. But if you're unmarried, you're a free agent, you're on your own, and that's why you have to get an attorney.
But at the same time, I know you feel very strongly that women in particular should argue to get their name on the deed.
Well, women in particular are often the people who don't argue for it. And nothing's worse than paying off a mortgage for 5 years, the relationship goes to the side, and suddenly you find out you are not even an owner, even though you've been paying off the mortgage.
So basically you're saying, I love you, here's a bunch of papers to sign.
I'm saying, I love you, I trust you, but let's put it in writing.
Let's put it in writing. Barbara Corcoran, always good to have you on. Thanks very much for the advice.